Okay, so welcome to this special webcast with Travolution. It's the first of the year, actually, first of 2021. So it's great to have you join us. Also doing this in conjunction with Weekly. I'm delighted to say that today we've got Chris North with us. He's the Managing Director of Vertical Systems. Welcome, Chris. How are you?
I'm very well. Yeah, considering the circumstances, very good. Yeah.
So what we want to talk about in the next, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes or so is we want to catch up with Chris about how things are, how nearly 12 months into this now, and how pandemic has hit or impacted Vertical and how they've reacted to that. And then Chris wants to show us a few of the projects that he's been working on at that time and which are now out of the market and you being used by agents. So yeah, let's just kick off, Chris. I mean, what we are, as I said, we're 12 months virtually into this now. It's been a unbelievably difficult year for the industry. We're reporting that all the time. So we know how hard it's been, and I'm sure you felt it as well as a provider to the industry. Just give us some idea of how Vertical reacted and what you've been doing in that time to make sure that you're fit for the future.
Yeah, sure. I think like most travel businesses, the first reaction was sheer panic. It's been damaging for everyone in the travel industry, and we haven't had the help that we need and deserve. In all honesty, I think we have been a forgotten industry. So it's been very sad. We, much like other businesses, we had to make a number of changes. So Vertical has never ever operated remotely. So we had to completely change the running of the business to operate from home. In doing that, again, you have challenges. If people got a comfortable space to work from home, if they got the right technology and so on. We were obviously better placed than most with that, being a technology business. So we introduced very quickly. We went off and built our own video call platform, and it's been a game changer for us. We're finding that we're better connected with our staff and also with our customers than we perhaps were before, which is great. I'm in the office today. We've got a huge big building here down in sunny Essex, but there are only 4 of us in the building. That's because we have to monitor our hardware and so on that we've got here. But we do take the lateral flow test regularly. Thankfully, everybody who's been in the building hasn't had a case of COVID, but yeah, we do that. We do that every week as a safeguard. But yeah, it was fear. We were really concerned. How many customers are we going to lose? How many customers could we potentially lose before our business is in trouble? It's been a really frightening time, especially following, it wasn't too long ago when we lost Thomas Cook as well. They were a big customer of ours, and that caused a lot of damage to the industry. But yeah, last April, it looked like this was getting really serious from March. I mean, go back to March. I went on a short break over to Dublin, and that feels like an absolute lifetime ago. And very quickly from April, we realised we had to start making changes and some serious decisions. I didn't even know what furlough meant until it was brought in, and now everybody's talking about furlough every single day. I think the key words, furlough and lockdown and so on, and what you hear at the moment. But we made quite a bold statement and decision not to furlough the complete workforce. And I know that in actual fact, to furlough everyone would have been the easiest option. But in actual fact, we had a massive backlog of development that needed doing. We had a lot of exciting stuff down that we wanted to create, and we saw that there was a demand for. So we kept our whole development teams working, and we took the opportunity to just plow through and produce some really, really nice, relevant, current technology. So that has been a really positive thing that's come of the situation, and it does seem amazingly that many travel businesses saw lockdown as an opportunity to review how they run their businesses and make key decisions that they need to make changes. And perhaps if you were in peaks, you wouldn't be thinking about those decisions because you would be so busy, which is great. But where they've had time to step back from their business and reconsider, are they working with the right technology? Do they need a massive admin workforce and so on? What do we need to change to be more productive, more profitable, and so on? And overall, there is no question, much like everyone, we have lost business, but thankfully we've gained a good level of business as well. So it does seem to have leveled out, and the future, amazingly and thankfully, looks bright.
Yeah, but it reflects very much what we heard in our Travolution Summit in September last year. We had some quite a lot of the bigger brands like On the Beach and Hostel World, LastMinute.com, all Expedia even, all saying that they took this opportunity to do exactly what you just mentioned. Review everything and review their tech. They suddenly didn't have all that day-to-day usual business of taking bookings and taking money, unfortunately, but they had to survive, and they got themselves into a position where they knew they could survive. So they took the opportunity to review everything and build new tech, and get rid of maybe tech they didn't need, but at least get fit for the future. And I guess that's same for you guys, I'm sure, Chris. You said that you built the video conferencing module, but I guess there were projects that you'd like to have done in the past, which you just didn't get around to, which you now could, but or maybe even new projects that came up out of the fact that we'd gone into lockdown and we're in COVID.
Yeah, most definitely. There were a number of things. So obviously the phone platform that we spoke about, but even down to just how travel businesses transact money. They couldn't be face to face with a customer. So we went on and we developed pay by link technology as well. There was a desire for that. The overall way that a customer communicates with a travel agent is very, very different. So we'll talk about it a bit later, but we had to fully embrace the whole social media world. Example of me and my mum, for example, I never talk to my mum on the telephone. I always talk to her through Facebook Messenger, but it might be a telephone call through Facebook Messenger. And all of these tools are freely available to everyone, but not many tech companies fully embrace it within their tech. So we had to really improve the connectivity of our technology. A lot of the time there's a complete disconnect. You produce very good technology, but in actual fact, using it in practice and communicating with your customer, it can be very, very poor, although it looks great. So we had to fully embrace that. As everyone has in the way they operate their day-to-day lives now. We're in a very different place to where we were 12 months ago.
Yeah, we're going to see the fruits of your labour shortly, but let's just sort of tee that up by talking about yourself, because you're in a tech position now, MD of a technology company, but I know your background is more in you're a travel person by background. And so I know what you're going to show us has been something that's been in your head for a long time, and now it's suddenly become reality. But just talk about a bit about your background and what that has done in order to help you visualize what you wanted to do at Vertical.
Yeah, sure. So I'm now 40 years old. I was used to being the youngster in the business, and suddenly I'm not anymore. But I'm now in my 25th year within the travel industry. I started at the age of 16, didn't know what I wanted to do. My dad put a lot of pressure on me, go and get a job or go to college, do something. And my mum said to me, what do you love? And I said, I love to travel. She said, well, that's it. Go and work in travel. And that was how it came about. And I walked into a number of high street travel agencies asking if they had any junior positions. And luckily I got a YTS position in a high street chain called Intertravel, who many years later got taken over by First Choice and so on. So yeah, started out in retail as a YTS, earning £30 a week. I then evolved. I found I was actually quite a good salesman and was very good with people. So I naturally slotted very, very well into selling. So I moved on to their flagship store at the time, was in Lakeside Shopping Centre in Thurrock in Essex. I travelled a lot when I was 18. I lived over in Spain, but following that, I've run anything from online travel agencies to bed banks, luxury tour operators, home working divisions, and now technology. And the technology angle came about. I must say that I'm not a techie at all. I am a travel person. I don't think you can ever take that away from me. I don't portray myself to be a techie. But in March 2019, I was offered the position position of managing director at Vertical Systems. And I thought, in actual fact, that I was quite an odd choice because I'm not a technical person. And the owner, Peter Healy, said, no, in actual fact, you're exactly what we need. You can connect with the audience. We need a travel person in this business to drive the tech. And whereas I thought back then, great, but you're putting a lot of confidence in me, and maybe I'm not the right person, because I'm not a techie. In actual fact, it has worked beautifully well because I've got fellow directors, operations directors, a technical director, and so on. But I hold a lot of the relationships with the customers. We can have a conversation on a level. I'll refer to my previous travel businesses and what I needed and so on. I know what they will need in their business and challenges and victories and so on that they will experience in their business. But yeah, it was really like a complete change going from travel into technology. I was one of those guys where I'd run my previous business for a number of years. Although it was a tough job, I could do it with my eyes closed. I was so routinely set with it. It was very successful and challenging, but I had complete control of it. And then it's a bit like needing to speak Spanish in Spain where you've been there for one day. It's a complete change for me jumping into technology. But we immediately realized there was a huge need for change. Vertical Systems was known for legacy technology, and I wasn't really, and my fellow directors as well, we weren't really very comfortable with that, because legacy is great in one respect, that you've been around for a long time and you're still successful and so on, but another, it doesn't really portray that you're advancing and ever evolving, because you're known for an old technology. So we had to really change the focus, the structure, the roadmap of Vertical Systems. And it was clear when we started talking to our customers that our customers needed a more flexible way of working. People weren't just working from the office, they were working from home. They may also work from another country for so many months a year and so on. So they needed to be able to take their office and so on with them. But we wanted to be known for technology that changed people's businesses, not a legacy system that's great, but it's been around forever and it doesn't change too much.
Yeah. Do you think that's been sort of maybe one of the issues of travel tech down the years, that there's not been enough travel input, from the user point of view? I mean, that's the key thing. You've been on the front line using the tech, so you can see all the frustrations and downfalls of it in the past and how it should develop. So that, I guess that's been really important to bring that to the business, and then you can tell the techies and the technology people you work with what you want to create. That's probably been the advantage, is it?
Yeah, it has. It was a bit of a challenge in the beginning, because I came in and I'm sure there was a feeling amongst our programmers, who are amazing, by the way. We've got some of the most fantastic, intelligent guys from the industry. But I think they did kind of think, first of all, what's this travel agent doing coming into this business, but then when we started having our meetings and so on, the mix just worked, because they would challenge what I said, I would challenge what they said, but I would come to them with a view of, this is what's needed in the travel community. A travel professional needs this set of tools, because I needed them in my business. I would have given my right arm, left arm, and my toes to have these travel systems, and I didn't have the level of the systems that are available now. And it was very clear that travel operates in quite an antiquated, old school way. There's still so much manual work that takes place. Most travel agents are still writing down on pads, and they store all of their data on pads. And that was one thing I took from my business, the power of data. There was a saying that I heard, which I absolutely loved, and it was that data is the new oil, and if you don't utilize your assets, somebody else will. And that really resonated with me. My previous travel business that we started from a complete zero. Within 5 years, it was a £20 million travel business. It's now over 100 million travel business. But that was really off the clever use of data. Know your customer, use your customer as a gateway to get to their friends, their family, and so on. Market people relevantly. Don't send them nonsense, irrelevant offers and information and so on, and they will just keep buying from you. But to summarize, if you think that it wasn't too many years ago that travel agents were still using the likes of ViewData and so on, and ViewData does still exist, there's very few operators on it now.
Ironically, you own it, don't you?
Yeah, we did. We bought the ViewData tech a number of years ago now. And that, going back to when I was 16, I used ViewData on a tiny little screen in a lakeside store. And for that still to be used all those years later, there's an argument to say if it's not broke, don't change it. And I actually, it was tongue in cheek really, but I set up a poll. Do travel agents want to see the return of ViewData? And overwhelmingly, the answer was yes. And that kind of emphasizes the how if you like traditional, I don't want to keep saying old school, but travel agents were comfortable working in that way, and it's in a way sometimes very difficult to get travel professionals to embrace change. I always say you've got kind of an old school agent and you've got a current modern travel agent, and they operate so differently. And we're trying to embrace people to moving into the current world of what we are offering.
Yeah, I remember when I came to visit you a few years back now. In the previous role there, you were sat on Google Insights, I think, most of the day, obsessed with the data. So I knew you sort of into
analytics. Data is everything. If you don't know the numbers, you know how can you run your business successfully? And as you say, I was obsessed by, I would watch live analytical traffic on our websites. Where are these customers from? How long did they spend on each page, and so on? Why did they leave us? I'd be ultimately offended, that they've left our website and they haven't made a booking, and so on. And that's what sparked the whole psychology around relevance and a personal approach as well. Although I love tech, you do have to embrace a personal approach. And I love that about travel. Travel is all about the people, especially in the home working community and even the high street community. Why does a customer return to the same high street shop to make booking after booking after booking? It may be nothing to do with the brand. It may be nothing to do with the destination. It may be just that they love Mary, the manager in there, because she gives them such great service and great insight to when they make a booking. They fully trust her, and so on. So we've embraced that personal approach into the tech as well.
So yeah, so look, before you get to share a little bit of what you're talking about in reality, just tee us up then. What were the key things that you felt the average agent out there needed and wasn't being provided with, and what's, so just tee this up by sharing, by telling us the key factors behind what you were trying to build.
Yeah, sure. So I think the two most important things in a travel business, first of all, is your brand. You have to have a trusted brand, especially in the climate we're in currently. People will be concerned about parting with money with a travel business with a view, are they going to go bust? They will want to know, how long has that business been trading? Do they know what they're talking about? Are they ABTA bonded, ATOL protected? Have they won awards, and so on? And I don't think that enough travel businesses make enough of their brand. Your brand is very, very important. And secondly is your audience. If you've got an audience and you don't have a trusted brand, your audience won't buy from you. Alternatively, if you've got a brand and no audience, you don't have anybody to sell to. So we've just pulled all of that together. Our quotes via our CRM platform aren't just about the quote for the holiday. It's all about the brand and emphasizing why the customer should book with your business and why you're the right people to part with your money. I refer to it as the travel agent is wrapping their arms around the customer. They're removing all the need and desire for the customer to go elsewhere to research the travel business they're booking with, or research the hotel and so on. But yeah, make the most of what you've got right in front of you. You own your brand. Your brand is your business, so do a good job of it and service your audience correctly and relevantly, and you'll have a thriving travel business.
Good. All right. Look, I think you're going to share your screen now. We're going to look at some of this stuff. I think you've got 5 modules within the vertical group that you're going to sort of run through quickly with us now. So yeah, you can crack on with that. Share your screen and then talk us through. So the first one's VHub.
Yeah, so VHub, I'll come at this from a travel perspective, not a technology perspective. So when a travel professional starts their day, they log into VHub, and VHub is the gateway into the rest of the vertical product suite. So once you're logged into VHub, you don't log into any other products. You can manage your users in here. You can store useful websites, your go-to sites, and so on. What this, it gives you some really important functionality, because this can be used as an intranet style system as well. So it's so relevant to the times we're in right now, where people are working remotely from a number of locations. You know, you'll have a high street store that had 10 staff, and they're now working from 10 different locations. So communication between those staff is quite challenging. So within here, you can store news, you can publish updates and so on. So, you know, where's on the quarantine list? What's the latest news? What's happened in a certain destination? You can store your delicate information like password sheets and so on. For suppliers, I had an example in my business where somebody sent our supplier password sheet onto a customer because they thought they were emailing somebody in the office, but they emailed it to a customer. We can imagine the damage that potentially could have done. So any sensitive data can be stored in here. I'll show you only a couple of bits in here. So user guides. We, as most companies did years ago, used to publish booklets and so on. Well, our tech transforms and updates every 4 weeks. So all of our user guides now are on videos, or they're all hosted within YouTube. So if you want to know how to create a quote using Quote Builder in CRM, you can literally watch the video straight in there. These are continually updated and enhanced, but again, they are immediately accessible. You don't have to go off and look for a booklet or a brochure or look for a web address. It's on your hub that you log into every single day, and they're there and readily available for you to use. So I won't really go into too much more detail about the hub. Up here where you've got your products, I've clicked on the CRM, and I'm now logged in here on the CRM system. And you'll see at the beginning where we spoke about changes that were needed within vertical systems and so on. One thing that was really clear was we didn't actually have an identity. So all of the vertical products looked very, very different. And we did a lot of work in rebranding the business. You see, even not sure you can see, but even the jumper I'm wearing today is all branded as per the business. And you see, regardless of whether I'm in the hub system or I'm in the CRM system, you've got the same identity, the same look and feel. And that's really important. If you know how to use one piece of our technology, then you're 80-90% of the way there to be able to use the rest of the technology, because the flow, the structure, the look and feel is exactly the same. So with a CRM, it amazes me how many travel businesses out there still don't use a CRM. They don't really understand the power and the revenue opportunity of their data that's really sitting in front of them. And if you use a CRM platform correctly, you should never, ever be waiting for a customer to walk in or waiting for the phone to ring, because there should always be an opportunity staring you in the face. That exists within your data. So I'll show you some very basic stuff first of all within the CRM. So with the way travel businesses are operating now, they can't share business cards with customers. So we introduced an e-business card. So the way I used this in my travel businesses was at the beginning of every single call, when a reservation agent answers the phone, they would say to the customer, firstly, can I take your email address? Because I want to send you my business card to show who you're dealing with. And this worked amazingly well. You can see in here, you can add your logo, your picture. This is me and my daughter, Ava, your contact details, a quick bio and a headline about yourself. And then you can upload all of your social links and so on. Well, what this did was it started every call on the front foot rather than the back foot. The customer would warm to you, first of all, because they can see your face, and then they know a little bit more about you. It's a bit more personable. It's a bit more trustworthy and so on. This isn't a massive big call center reading from a script. It's an actual person here. Oh, look at your daughter. Where were you on holiday there? I see that you were voted Leisure Agent of the Year. I see that you went to Fiji. How was that? And it really started a rapport with customers. So an e-business card, first of all, it really is such a simple little thing, but it's very, very key.
Trust is going to be really key at the moment because of all the
Massive
difficulty we've had with COVID. It's probably the biggest thing that the travel industry needs to regain, isn't it?
It's absolutely massive. There'll be so much uncertainty out there at the moment. Understandably, I mean, people have been made redundant. People are self-employed and they haven't had their grants and help and so on for a number of months. So people's money is a lot tighter than it used to be. So no matter what you buy, and a holiday is quite a big purchase, isn't it, for people? I think quite often it's the biggest annual purchase that people will make, and you need to know that you're in safe, trusted hands. And that really leads us into to the brands section in the CRM, Lee. So I'll pull up here. I've got this is a fictitious brand called Vertical Holidays, but this is how you can pitch yourself on every single quote. So we've got a portal here called Quote Designer, where you can upload your logo, your hero image. You can apply your color scheme. You can adjust images and opacity of these panels here. Also, this is where you can put your pitch about your business. So this is what I mentioned before. Tell your customer about you. Don't give a customer a quote and then give them the need, an excuse to go off elsewhere and research your business. Because if someone goes off and puts in, on Google, travel agent or specialist in this destination or something like that, they're going to get millions of results come up, and there'll be loads of other businesses and pure temptation to go off and book with somebody else. We'll show you this more so in the actual quotes themselves, but a travel agency can also upload a video about their business. And again, that's really important. So you're giving a virtual introduction to you and your business to your customer. Again, gaining trust, building that rapport, and so on. So if I go in, I'm now in a customer record here. So my customer here is Mr. Hugh Jackman. Mr. Hugh Jackman lives at 1 Roman Place in Mayfair in London. Even without booking this customer, if I go into party details, I can see that he travels with his wife, Mrs. Karen Jackman. And in the customer comments, I've got a note here that Mrs. Jackman is a vegan. So just that level of data is really powerful. We know they travel as a couple. We know they live in London. Most importantly, they live in Mayfair. So these guys have got some serious income to be able to live in Mayfair. They potentially be a big spender. And the wife's a vegan. If we then go into an inquiry, and bear in mind, this is even without giving a quote. So in here for the inquiry, I've got a note here that Mr. Jackman is traveling with his wife. They've got £4,000 to spend. The inquiry came in from Facebook. So for those marketeers there, you want to know where you're spending money, you're getting a return. So you can track that right back to the inquiry. And if we go into the notes, we've got the notes here that the customer wants to go to Lanzarote, but they would prefer Playa Blanca. They want to go on the 5th of May, 21, 7 nights, Gatwick. They're only looking at 5-star and they like H10 hotels. So again, look at the profile we've built up on this customer. And I will Lee, bang on about data because it's so important. We know they're a couple. They live in Mayfair. The wife's a vegan. They go to the Canaries. They stay in 5-star hotels. They like H10 hotels. And they're interested in Playa Blanca, Lanzarote. So you've really got the gist of it there in how to remarket that customer. Even if they do or they don't book with you, don't go sending them offers from Edinburgh, for example, when they live in London. Don't go sending them family offers when in their profile there are no children. They travel as a couple. Obviously, that customer profile will evolve as they become a family and so on, and your data will evolve with it. You'll build up a nice profile on that customer. But then we'll go into the quote. So with us, you can create your quotes a number of different ways. And I think because of time, Lee, I won't go through the process of building a quote. I'll just show you some that I've created here. So we have a number of things. So you can build a quote using our quote builder completely manually. Travel agent can input all the data. You can create a quote using our vSearch, which is our dynamic packaging search, and then that will populate all the data for you. You can use our cruise search as well, and you can retrieve bookings back from tour operators as well. But I'll show you the output that goes to the customer. So I'm just going in here to an example quote. And if I go into the quote builder, this will give you an insight to the data that we've included. So this is what the agent has built, by the way, not what the customer sees. So we have all of our flight data. We have all the erratas around the flights. We've got our accommodation at the H10 Rubicon Palace in Playa Blanca. We have a description and so on, and we have our transfers and such. So from there, the travel agent can click on generate quote, and the system will grab all of the Vertical Holidays branding information and all the quote information and create a really nice quote for our customer. So this is what the customer will receive. So logo, hero image, a personalized title for the quote. This is really important because if you email a quote to a customer, the quote title is the subject of the email. And I don't know about you, Lee, but if you probably get hundreds of emails every day, and if a subject isn't engaging or it just said quote, well, you don't know if that's a quote for your MOT or your car service, or it's a quote for your holiday. So make it personal to what you're providing your customer with. We've got the agent information pulled from the business card. So agent image, contact details, cost of the quote, and the quote reference. We then have the pitch, all about the business. This is followed, this is an example, but this is an example travel agent introduction video. And this is really useful. So the agent on this occasion is Jeanette Healy, and she was out at Sani Resort in Halkidiki, and she recorded this very quick 18-second video introducing herself, stating that she looks forward to booking the customer and that she's at the Sani Resort. So again, the customer then has a feel for who they're dealing with. And it just makes it a bit more interesting about the company. Too many quote systems don't focus on the brand or the business. They just focus on the quote. Well, anyone can give a quote, but do you trust the people giving you the quote? So you can really go to town with that and say that's an example of an agent video. I say to travel agents, when in normal times, all travel agents travel a lot, right? They've always got a suntan. They might be on a fam trip over in Sandals, for example. Well, why not hold your phone up while you're standing outside of Sandals, Barbados, saying, "Hi, I'm Chris. I'm your travel agent. Your quote's below. By the way, I'm here at Sandals right now. We offer great rates to this destination. The sun is shining. Have a look at this beautiful location. I'd like to book you somewhere like this." What a great introduction, really different personal approach to a quote. And then we have the quote. So this is your standard stuff. So your flight information, hotel information, a full high-res gallery, so the customer can have a look around, followed by the hotel video. This is 4K video as well. We can pull in, no problem. Again, I really believe that you can have the best gallery in the world, but a video will sell something far better than static images. Lee, you and I were talking before this, and you mentioned about your fantastic new projector you've got at home, how you can project a 150-inch screen onto the wall. We're getting feedback that customers are watching, not reading, they are watching their quotes on their 65-inch TVs, their projectors and so on, because they want to look at this content. They want to look at their agent here. They want to look at their high-res imagery. They want to watch their videos. A holiday is an emotional purchase. So if you can tick the boxes and pull on those levers with your customer for them to think, that looks amazing, I want to go there, I want to be sitting on that beach. An example as you go through the H10 video here is the drone that starts flying over the hotel here. And you think, that looks fantastic. I want to be up on that balcony having a cocktail, I want to be in that sunny destination, that sunny location. So we really do pull on those heartstrings, emotional purchase, give the customer the need and the desire to book that holiday and be in that location. We've then got the transfer information, the errata information. So what is key with us is connectivity. So from here, the travel agent can share the quote by email. They can also copy the quote link and send it by text, WhatsApp, Facebook, whatever it may be. Down here, you've got all the social links for the travel agent, but we've also added now a copy option where the customer can copy the quote link and share it with other people on the booking, share it with their friends, post it on their social media. They could even post it on their Facebook and set up a poll. Should I book this holiday? Yes or no? Well, what great advertising is that for the travel agency, But a really important one is Facebook Messenger here. So as the customer clicks on the messenger icon, they are connected in real time directly with the travel agency. On this occasion, it's Vertical Systems. But because of that Facebook functionality, you get 3 mechanisms of communication. You can talk via live chat with the agent, you can talk via a voice call, and you can talk via a video call. In real time, the customer hasn't had to go off and dial a number. They haven't had to scratch around for where's my quote, where's my paper and so on. They are looking at their quote and they are connected with their travel agent. And that's really, really powerful. Coming down to the end of the quote, the biggest challenge I had in my travel businesses was training my staff and giving them the confidence to ask the customer at the end of giving a quote, would you like to make a booking today? A lot of agents go into default mode and they give a quote and they say, and my name's Chris, and call me back when you're ready to book on blah, 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 blah. Well, in actual fact, you've just provided them a quote. It's available. Why not say, do you want to book it? And I would bet my house on around 40%, 50% of people will book there and then. But we do that for you within the quote. So we ask the customer, what would you like to do next? And then we have a traffic light system. I would like to book, I would like some more information, or I'm not interested. So the customer can literally add a comment in there along the lines of, please call me after 8 p.m. on my mobile number, and they can send a response to the travel agent. That does two things. So first of all, the travel agent will immediately receive an email alert advising that customer wants to book and what their comments are. But also in the CRM, in the agent notes here, we now have a note advising that the customer commented, I would like to book, please call me after 8 p.m. and here's my number. So again, the customer hasn't had to leave that quote to research the travel agent. They haven't had to leave the quote to research their destination and their hotel because you put all the rich content in there. And they haven't had to scratch around and research online. Oh, what's this agent's phone number? How do I get hold of them? And so on. It's immediate. The agent is wrapping their arms around their customer, stressing that we are the right people to book this holiday with. So is that okay so far? Any questions there, Lee?
Yeah, no, not really. I think we said before we did this, I'm not aware of how travel agent systems looked before these kind of systems were available. So I kind of, it's difficult for me to envisage the sort of the change and all the difficulties you had before. But it is a real step change, because in some ways, as a consumer of tech, you think that looks great, but it's nothing you wouldn't expect as a consumer of tech these days. You have such amazing tech at your disposal. But this actually represents quite a step change.
It really does. And, in all honesty, most travel agents in the UK are still sending a text-only email to their customers for their quote, and they're just giving facts. Okay. And if you think of it, if you think of a newspaper, if it just stated facts, so if it was just the headline without the information and the pictures, it's far less interesting, isn't it? Because if anything, in a newspaper, you get the truth in the smaller text and the photos, and not in the headline. But in this, you're giving this customer this full, rich information. It isn't, if you're sending just an email quote, or if you're just a voice on a phone reading a script and so on. Well, anybody can do that. Tell your customer about your business, tell them about their destination, pull on those strings to get them to give an emotional purchase. I even saw, when we were doing our research, there were some examples of travel agents. They were emailing customers links to the tour operator's system for the quote for the holiday. And we had an instance where I referred one of my friends to a travel agent, and she got really upset because my friend actually went off and made the booking directly with the tour operator. In the end, we found out why. It was when she quoted him, she put a deep link in straight to the final costing in the tour operator's system. And the friend of mine, he couldn't get hold of the agent. He was desperate to book, and he went off and booked it directly with the tour operator. And I'm not saying I don't want to cause a war between agents and operators, but don't give the customer the excuse and the opportunity to leave you. And at the moment, many agents are giving multiple opportunities, even without realizing it, for customers to go off and
particularly when you've done all the hard work and it's just a question of book.
The hardest thing is to get the customer to make the decision, isn't it? Yeah, and if you've put all that legwork in and then they go off and make the booking with the operator, it really is heartbreaking. Yeah. So another challenge, Lee, is that many travel businesses, they work with their tech in quite a fragmented way. So they might have a quote or a CRM system with one partner, a back office with another, a payment solution with another, and it becomes really, really fragmented. What we do is we connect the quote, the CRM, the back office, the booking, the ATOL documentation, all together in one seamless swoop. So I'll just show you here. This is a cruise quote as an example. So this is under the same brand, Vertical Holidays, but you'll notice obviously a different title. This is an Azamara cruise. We go with the pitch. Again, that's automatically there. The agent doesn't need to add that. It automatically comes up with the brand. And now we have our quote. So this is an Azamara cruise. We give an introduction. We include video content, full itinerary, map showing all the ports of call, for that particular cruise. So I know where I am on day 14, day 1, and so on. And then content on every single destination, followed by the customer action box. So if the travel agent wanted to load that booking, traditionally, they would have to go off. Can you imagine loading every single port of call into your back office after you've done all the work of quoting your customer? What we do is you can retrieve your quote and you can just convert it into a booking. So this is where there's a huge disconnect, because your quote and your booking are the same data. So you can see here, I'm putting in my cost supplier. I can choose add my booking reference and so on. And if I now update my package, I've got a green tick here. This says that this quote has got enough information to make a booking. So if I change my status up here to booking, the last thing I will see is a task handoff box. And task is our back office system. So this is where you're transferring from, if you like, your middle office to your back office. So it knows your booking reference. The supplier I confirmed before was my cost supplier. I'm now confirming my lead supplier. Because I don't have flights and so on this just is a cruise. My lead supplier is Azamara on there. So it's a cruise. I can say that it was a new client. It will continue the note from the inquiry that this came from Facebook at booking stage. So it will log that all the way through to the booking. And then you've got your DPA questions. So as I click on hand off to task, the system will grab all of the relevant information and create my task file. That is it, Lee. I've now got a file on this customer. All of the information is in there. And what's really, really important is that the file includes every single port of call. Okay, so if this is very, very gloomy, but it's a real life example, what a lot of cruise agents are doing is, if this cruise departs from New York, for example, and they cruise all around the Caribbean and it goes back to New York, they will load their back office file stating that the customer is in New York. Well, if on day 5 the cruise is in Barbados and a bomb goes off in Barbados, the travel agency doesn't actually have any record that a bomb has gone off in Barbados port, for example. They don't know their customer is in Barbados. So as well as giving your customer all the correct information and the full information, for you as running your business, you need to know where your customer is in case there is a crisis. So all of that information will follow through. Just to show you, so one thing there that we didn't do was up here where we created the quote, we've also got an option to generate a payment link. This is the pay by link technology that I spoke about before, where it will include the customer contact details, name, reference number. As you put your value in there, because the system doesn't know if you're taking a deposit or a full payment, the system creates a payment link and sends it straight to the customer. The customer then is in control of the transaction. So first of all, this allows you to extend your hours of taking money, if you like, because if you're taking the payment on your customer's behalf, you have to be working when you take that, to take that money. With this, you can send your quote and your customer can make their payment at 10 o'clock at night, and then you come in and make the booking the next day. But also, with the world we're in at the moment, where customers have pushed a lot of chargebacks and so on, they're less likely to be able to push a chargeback because they were the driver of the transaction. The customer did the transaction themselves rather than the agent doing it on their behalf. Right. And because the merchant, the bank see this as a less risky transaction, it will usually result in lower merchant fees as well than because it's a customer present transaction rather than a customer not present transaction. Quite important stuff, especially considering the climate we're in, with customers arguing that they haven't had their refund and they're just going to force a chargeback when the travel business hasn't had the money back from the tour operator. We could talk all day. There are loads of other things. One key bit of technology that we've added is the booking import technology. This is where if you go off and make your booking with Jet2, TUI, Olympic Holidays, EasyJet Holidays, you can literally, with EasyJet, for example, put your booking reference in and it will retrieve the booking back into the system, load the all the documentation and so on for you. So again, it's about working smarter and more effective. Don't re-input all of your data. People more often than not, travel businesses are working twice as hard than what they need to. Unfortunately, I can't show you that because they are real bookings and we'll be revealing customer data. But I am more than happy to pass, viewers of the video. They can log on to the Vertical Systems website and look at user guides. We do have user guides on this technology where we've blurred out some of the customer data because it's quite sensitive.
Good. So that was a whistle-stop tour, I guess.
It was indeed, yeah.
Quite comprehensive. I suppose, as we said in the middle of that, this is taking travel agent technology to probably where you might expect tech to be these days. But we did mention view data, and that poll was interesting.
Yeah.
And there's always been that kind of pushback from the user point of view to say, look, some of the tech that we used in the old days was what made our difference, and that was the value we were bringing to the feeling was that was the value we were bringing to the customer. And I guess there's a bit of maybe you've got to get over that, I suppose, in some ways. So has this been well received? I mean, did the agents say, God, I don't know why we kept doing it in the old-fashioned way. This is clearly the way to do it. Or has there still been that kind of sense of pushback?
It really depends on the travel professional. The response has been great. Like I mentioned, we have taken on a lot of new business during lockdown, and that's off the back of these new developments. So credit to our programmers and our developers because they have delivered the desired tech that's in demand for our industry. It's quite difficult in some cases that we are creatures of habit, and if people have operated in the same way for all these years and they've been successful, why would they change it? And to be honest with you, that's completely fair enough. If people are happy to continue perhaps working a little bit less efficient, but they're completely entirely happy with it, no problem at all. But if you are looking to run your business more efficiently, more effectively, be more predictable, lower your costs and so on, your operating costs, then tech has to play a part. If you go back, if I think of the times, you go back when I started out in travel, I was in retail travel for a couple of years in High Street. I mentioned the Lakeside store. And if I think back then, we had these tiny little monitors. We were using view data. There was no such thing as dynamic packaging. We had these reels of paper that came off these little the printers. We would have an envelope as a customer file. After the customer traveled, we would put a line through it and write dead across the file because it was finished. We would do nothing with that file after that. It would be destroyed after so many years. And if you think where we are now, see every customer as a gateway to opportunity. I come from a sales and marketing background. If Lee Hayhurst was my customer, I'd be thinking, right, first of all, not only do I want to get every one of Lee's bookings, and to get every one of Lee's bookings, I have to know Lee. I have to understand, what Lee likes and what makes Lee tick and so on. But I want to get stuck into your family. I want to get stuck into your friends and so on. And if you think we do kind of mingle in circles of people like ourselves. So you will have friends who have a similar wealth as yourself, for example, and they're your friends because they're in a similar location to you, because they live down the road, you meet up, you go for drinks, you go out cycling and so on. So whatever you market Lee with would be in a way relevant to Lee's friends and so on as well. So how can you use a customer as a bridge to connect to a wider audience? And what I would say to people is one customer can very quickly become 10 customers. 10 customers can very quickly become 100 customers, and it will just spiral. But you must market and treat people with relevance, because if a customer feels you're wasting their time and you're sending them offers or having conversations with them that are not relevant to them, you're not making them feel special, and you clearly don't know them, and they will go off and find someone who shows them some love and does know them and does market them relevantly. And I always use the example of Google. Why do we all use Google? And the answer is because it gives us a relevant answer. If you go onto Google and you did a search for Converse trainers, you're not going to get a response telling you that roses are on special offer in Marks and Spencer's. It will only show you results for Converse trainers, and it will show you every outlet that you can get those Converse trainers from. So see yourself, your travel professional, as the customer's Google. Know your customer, market them relevantly, and they will stay with you for life.
Yeah, I guess what this does, it changes the way changes the way agents and retailers work, changes the job, doesn't it, really, in many respects, because it takes out a lot of the kind of manual stuff that no one would see. It's the back office, almost mid-office type roles. Well, that automates it. So always the fear is, I think, for anyone, is the tech's coming along to take our jobs offers. But is it more that gives the agents, the retailer, more time to do stuff that's actually more productive?
Yeah, I was on a demo with an agency recently, and they were talking about their current setup, and they were an example that I spoke to you about, that they have their quote and CRM system with one supplier and their back office with another, and the two aren't connected. So they were saying to me, look, they're quite happy with what it does. And I said, okay, you've given your quote, customers to book it. What's the next step after you've made the booking? They said, oh, we get all the information and we put it into the back office system. We load it in. I said, okay, so what I would be doing at that point is servicing the next customer, because I would have clicked a button, dropped it into the back office, and I'm away. I can go with the next opportunity. And this is just an example, again, because those guys, they didn't see that as a problem. Almost at the level of the person I was talking to, this guy was a very successful. He was the manager of his department and so on. Very different when I had the conversation with the owner of the business. When I spoke to the owner of the business, he then said, okay, so we're going to save a couple of hours a day here. Yep, you are, because we're not loading our bookings. Then when I spoke to them about the quality of data, so booking retrievals from tour operators, for example, because the data is taken from the source, it's 100% correct 100% of the time. And this business had a whole admin team correcting data. He said, so I don't need a great big admin team improving the quality of my data, because the data that your data's only as good as what you put in. But if the data's spot on from the start, you don't need this huge big admin team. And almost you could look at that in one respect, that you don't need as many admin clerks, but on the plus, make the admin clerk the sales agent and go and get more business, be more productive, be more profitable, and drive your business forwards.
Let's just wind up, because we've done quite a long time there, but let's wind up just very quickly on some thoughts on what comes next, really. Like we said, you did a lot of things in lockdown that maybe you were always going to do at some point, but it gave you the opportunity to do that. We've been doing things that maybe are a direct reaction to COVID. Some of this remote working may go back to less remote working, we hope, once things open up again. So there's some things that will maybe retreat. Just a few thoughts on what you think is here to stay, and if agents are going to be fit and ready to hit the ground running when the market really does come back, what are they going to need to be doing and having their businesses so that they're there for it?
Well, I think, first of all, it will come back, and it will come back with an absolute bang. I think people will, first of all, travel more aggressively than they did before. I don't know about you, Lee, but I'm sick to death of this lockdown and talking about coronavirus and so on. I want to go away, whether it be go skiing for a week and have a nice time, whether it be go lay on a beach and do nothing and enjoy my all-inclusive. I just want to get away, because I'm sick to death of this bubble that we've been in for the last year now. I think there are some positives, though, from lockdown, in that obviously people have had more time with their families. I'm a big ambassador for mental health. I've done a number of talks on mental health, and I think that people, first of all, you've got the challenges where people have been stuck at home, and home learning is difficult with your children. But on the positive, what about that time that you've now given your children, your family life? My family life has most definitely improved, because I'm used to trawling up and down the M1 and the M6 and so on, and flying up to Scotland and such. And I think one thing that will stay is what we're doing now. I think that there will be less travel and less meetings face to face, because you can do it so easily now. We've proven that in my business, we've been better connected with our customers. Our customers have almost become our friends in lockdown, because we've spoken to them so much more. And it's a silly thing. There's always a running joke. I'm a bit of a nosy guy, and I always have a quick look around people's houses when they're on their call. And we've become friends. We have calls all the time. Whereas we may have seen these guys once every quarter or an annual review, we're talking to them every single week. And that's brilliant. So there will be some positive things come from that. I think that the future is going to be bright, as well as people traveling more aggressively. I saw some of the stats that came out from the likes of November and December, when there was a little bit of life coming back into the travel industry, and the average spend was higher than what people had spent in previous years. And that's great. That's the stiff upper lip of the British saying, we haven't been away in the last 12 months, so we're going to have a bloody nice holiday on our next one. And whereas they may have spent $3,000 before, they might spend 6, 7, 8, whatever it may be, and go and have a really nice time. Well, all of our travel partners and travel businesses just need to ride the storm and be there for when that boom comes back. And I wish everybody well, and I hope everybody survives this tragic time, because there are things to be bright about. There's always opportunity off the back of a disaster, and it's very sad because lots of businesses have failed. But if you're a survivor of that, there will be a greater market share to get your hands on when things return back to normal. So onwards and upwards, we just want to be positioned with Vertical, that we supply our customers with a workshop of tools and tech that allows them to make more money, their business be more productive, more efficient, more effective, present themselves as good as they can be. And we really want to thrive and grow with our customers.
Yeah, well, that's right. So we'll close it there, Chris. But I think you're right. I think there's some optimism. I mean, the road ahead, it's not necessarily going to be straight, but I think we can hope that things will start to come back, especially with the vaccine.
Yeah, and to be fair, they are doing a very good job of that, aren't they? The numbers that are being vaccinated are great.
Yeah. So
yeah, let's keep it going.
Yeah, lovely. Look, thanks very much for your time, Chris, today, and we look forward to catching up with you again, I'm sure, in the not too distant future. So all the best.
Thanks a lot, Lee. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and all the best. Stay safe.
Cheers.